Hey everyone, welcome back to Women in Wild Places. It's Gabriella, your host. Today's episode is a really special one to me because not only is my guest an absolutely awesome human, but she's also a neighbor, like literally a neighbor. We live about 15 minutes from each other in the Catskills, and somehow it took this show to connect us. Today I'm sitting down with Julie McGuire, a high school English teacher from the South Bronx, backcountry skier, and the first woman to ski all 33 of the Catskills High Peaks. I watched her film Queen of the Catskills before this conversation, and I was completely hooked. Not just because I know these mountains, I grew up loving them, I live on them, but because Julie's story is so much bigger than skiing. It's about what happens when your life completely falls apart and you find yourself piece by piece, in the woods, on skis, alone. We talk about following your intuition, building a practice that heals you, the spiritual experience of being in the mountains solo, and what it means to share all of that with her students from the South Bronx, kids who've never set foot in a place like this. If you've ever felt the pull of the Catskills, or if you're wondering what it would be like to actually ski them, I think this episode is going to give you a whole new appreciation for these mountains. Let's get into it. Hello. Hi, Julie.
How's it going?
Good. How are you?
Good.
I love to meet fellow Catskill area lovers because many people that I'm interviewing for this podcast are all over the country and some international. So I'm really stoked to talk to a Catskill friend. Where do you live currently? Are you in the city?
So I split my time between New York City and the Catskills. I have an apartment in Harlem and then I have a home in East Durham, which is about 15 minutes from Wyndham. It's in the valley.
You're really close to me. I'm in Round Top.
Oh, yeah, we're super close.
Yeah. We'll have to meet up
Yeah,
sometime.
absolutely.
Where are you right now?
In the Catskills.
Oh, nice. Well, thanks for joining the pod. We haven't had a skier yet or a backcountry skier, so I know the audience is going to be really interested to hear your story. Would you mind introducing yourself?
So my name is Julie McGuire. I'm a high school English teacher in the South Bronx and also a backcountry skier. I split my time between New York City and my home in the Catskills. And most notably, I was the first woman to ski all the Catskills high peaks. So there's 33 of those, and the high peaks are 3,500 feet, and it goes up to about 4,200 feet.
And that was especially why I was so interested in speaking with you because a lot of people hike the high peaks, but not a lot of people ski the high peaks.
Oh, I was the 3rd
uh,
person to do it. The first 2 brothers, yeah.
So we're going to get into that, which I'm very excited about. I understand that you got the idea when you were hiking in the high peaks. Can you explain a little bit more about when that idea kind of sparked in your imagination and what led you to decide to actually do it?
In 2018, my marriage abruptly ended. It was a huge, devastating shock to me, and I remember that I wanted to continue to do the things that my ex-wife and I used to do together, and that entailed hiking. So I eventually took on the project to hike the Catskills. And to be honest, I didn't think I'd finish that either because I was really intimidated by the idea of the bushwhack hikes. But
Mhm.
I also thought it would take forever. Like I thought that would take years. But when COVID hit, I was working remotely for a year and a half in the Catskills, and that changed my life. And I ended up basically finishing my first round within like a month,
Wow.
doing them like yeah, because I could just do it every day. So I finished that, but we had to do 4 more in the winter in order to get
Mhm.
patch from the Catskill 3,500 Club. And as I was hiking them, I had this persistent like nudge saying like, "Oh, you should try skiing these," because I'd also got into backcountry skiing right after my divorce. And, so that was like a new thing for me. And like while I was married, I was a resort skier and I felt that backcountry skiing, I felt like a calling to do that. I thought that was my next evolution in skiing. But my
Mm.
ex-wife wanted to stay on the resort. And so I wanted to stay with her. And then right after my divorce, I was depressed, but I was online at an ad for a women's backcountry ski camp pops up. and it said what I always say are the 3 magic words, "No experience necessary." And so I knew that was the universe showing me my lifeline, and even though I was too depressed to even wanna ski, I just knew that I was supposed to say yes to that. And
Mm.
so, I had been, like, ski touring, like, around the world. Like, by February of 2020, I had, like, done big ski tours on, like, 4 continents, and I was taking it very seriously, and I wanted to continue that. I didn't want it to just be something I did maybe, like, a couple times a year when I did my big vacations. I wanted this to be, like, a regular thing, and since I have a home in the Catskills, this would be the logical place to do it. But as I was hiking them, I was like, "Oh, this stuff's way too hard." People think that just because our peaks aren't at a very high elevation, that they're easy, and they're like these just
Mhm.
rolling hills or something, but the terrain is absolutely rugged. It's just cliffs
Mhm.
and ledges and boulders, narrow trails, very tight trees and underbrush, and very little snowpack. And then eventually, it was in January of 2021, I was finally like, "Okay, universe, let me just see how far."
I'll do it.
Yeah. And, and I had, I think, 2 more high peaks to, like, hike to get my patch, and I was
Mhm.
like, "Alright, well, why don't I just try skiing the next one?" And, I didn't realize the date, when I started, but it was January 18, 2021, and when I came back home and I was gonna put in, like, my little spreadsheet, I was like, "Oh, this would have been my wedding anniversary." So I just felt like there was,
Mm.
like, some sort of connection there.
Cosmic.
Yeah, so I was like, "Oh,
Yeah.
that's interesting." So, I mean, I did not think I would finish them, but somehow, I did. You just figure it out along the way.
It's more technical than people understand, very steep, not like the typical backcountry skiing terrain. So,
No.
like you explained, you were new to backcountry skiing a few years prior, but you had experience skiing. So, what was it like when you first started skiing in the Catskills? And what were some of the things that you learned early on?
There's one of the biggest challenges is that there really isn't any place to turn, and turning is
Mhm.
how we control speed when we're skiing.
Mhm.
And the trees are really tight, so even if you kind of, like, go off the trail, that kind of often isn't really an option, and then it takes a lot of time because there's so many obstacles that you have to deal with. So, something could just be, like, 7 miles, but it'll take hours and hours and hours to do it. A lot of people, they backcountry ski kind of, like, for the fantasy conditions, like, "I am going to climb this, or I'm going to exert the energy to go here so that I can have this
Nice
fantasy
ski.
of what, going down in untouched snow and these amazing conditions." But, with the Catskills, you don't often get that reward, at least, like, with the high peaks. There's some that are, like, pretty skiable, and then there's some where at least there are sections that are pretty skiable, but in terms of top to bottom, that's kind of rare. So, yeah, turning was a big issue, and I remember the first time I went out, I was like, "Alright, well, comparably, this is a pretty easy peak," you know? There really wasn't much snow, like, at all, and that's another big issue is that we get,
Yeah.
like, hardly any snowfall. And so, usually, like, if you have, like, rugged terrain, it's fine so long as you have snow because then it kind of, like, fills things in and it kind of, like, evens out and smooths out the terrain. But because we have such a low snowpack, you're really kind of skiing it in the similar conditions that you're hiking it. So
Mm.
I remember the first one was balsam, and it was, like, barely covered, especially at the bottom, and I was like, "Oh, maybe as I climb, there'll be, like, more snow." It really wasn't. And I remember taking off my skins and going to my downhill mode, and the way that I would control my speed is like, "Alright, I'm gonna let my skis run from here to there and then just kind of, like, crash into that tree." And that's, like, how I did it, like, the first, like, number of peaks. I don't know why I still kept doing it. That would deter you. This is dangerous and this is crazy and not very much fun, but I don't know why, I just kept doing it. And then one day I was, skiing, and so, like, I need to give a little background. When skiers are climbing up, we call it skinning. So we have bindings that allow our heels to be free on the uphill, so it's kind of like a cross-country ski on the uphill, and we have these things on our, bases called skins, and they're like mohair or nylon, and it's kinda like petting a dog. It's, like, smooth in one direction, there's friction the other direction, and that friction kind of prevents you from sliding back, provided it's not too steep or icy. So I had this idea, what if you like keep your skins on? Because there'll be ledges and kind of cliffs and stuff, and there's like no way to turn and you have no run out either, right? Because it's just like
Mhm.
it's gonna make a hairpin turn and you're gonna hit something, right? So I remember being at the top of these ledges and I was like, all right, what if I just keep my skins on? Maybe that'll help with the speed control. And I just remember like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm gonna do this. And mind you, and there's like no cell service in the Catskills. So I'm like, all right, all right. So I just point my skis between 2 trees and I'm like, all right, like
We're doing it.
I even close my eyes. It's like I can't even watch from about to and I made it. I was like, "Oh my god, I made it." And I was like and I learned that you are gonna go fast when you point them down, but I don't need as long of a run out
Mhm.
that I'll stop sooner than if I were to have my skins off. And that was the thing that unlocked the Catskill skiing for me,
Mm.
was having that strategy in those tight, steep places where you cannot make a turn and it's like impossible to control your speed.
That's a very lucky discovery.
The universe wanted me to do it, and I think it put that idea in my head. I was like, all right.
It seems like pretty early on you gained confidence in what you were doing. Would you say that's accurate?
That helped. But I mean, my confidence built along the way. Now I'm
Mhm.
like pretty confident. I always have like a learner mindset and a little bit of imposter syndrome, which I think is good because I think it's good to be more on that side than the too arrogant side. But
It keeps you safe.
yeah, it keeps you safe. It keeps you constantly learning. It keeps you humble. Things can always go wrong. You should never be
Mhm.
shocked. I didn't push it, right? There are peaks that I probably could have like, let's do North Dome and Cheryl. And I was like, you know what? You made it with this one. Let's not push it. Let's just go home now. you know?
Mhm.
Whereas now I could probably do like 5 peaks once or something. So, but that confidence like slowly built. I was definitely taking very calculated risks. I was trying to be as cautious as possible.
That makes sense to me because some of these were like scouting missions. You had hiked them before, but if you were doing it on your skis, obviously the conditions were different. So it's different to get a sense for what the peaks are like in the winter.
Yeah, and I know that we, like, never get snow, and if I didn't want this project to take, like, 20 years, we got anything, I was out there and I was trying to ski it, so
This would have been a good year for that
oh,
because we have
amazing
all this
year.
snow.
This is totally like, you can do it in a single season if you have the time.
Yeah. But I watched your film, Queen of the Catskills, which we'll get into more, but it's my understanding you were solo for a lot of your attempts.
Yeah, I was solo
Yeah,
for most of them.
most of them.
Yeah,
Yes, I'm sure with being solo, you're taking a little bit more calculated risk than you might if you were with people.
1000%.
What was it like for you being alone in the mountains doing this project? What did it bring up for you? And what did you enjoy about it?
When I first started, when I was skiing them during COVID and I was, like, living up here, I feel like I kind of had, like, a spiritual awakening up here, which is kind of
Hmm.
another reason why the Catskills is so important to me, it's significant, and, like, I could just feel, like, this presence with me, I guess, like, for lack of a better word, like, you could call it, like, God or some sort of divine presence, and I remember it kind of changed my whole concept of, what 12 years of Catholic school taught me. I no longer saw God as, like, a man in the sky or anything like that. I learned the importance of silence, stillness, and being in nature, and that if you
Mm,
want to perceive the divine, anxiety is your biggest enemy.
mhm,
And so when I'd be out in the woods, like the more isolated I was, the more I felt that presence and the more in touch I was with it. So like in a lot of ways, I really appreciated being by myself doing this. And I'm glad that I had that experience. When I went back to the city, and like with the remaining peaks that I had to do, it wasn't as palpable, this presence. But I think that every time I go out there, I'm hoping that I can reconnect like that because it was so
mm.
significant that, like, it's still with me. Sometimes now I'm like, "Did you just imagine this whole thing?" And I'm like, "I don't think I did." Like, so, that kind of, like that keeps me going in terms of solitude and stuff. I think also when you're by yourself, especially if you're like, "Oh." I don't know, things might be getting sketchy or I might be in a little bit of trouble. You really don't have anything else to turn to in those
Mhm.
moments, and you have to connect. When you're desperate, you do kind of like stop acting like an atheist. Nothing else that you can do. You're like, all right, well, let's just give this a shot. And then also, you become very in tune with your internal world. You become very in tune with your intuition.
Mhm.
Oh, how do I feel about this? You're constantly checking in with yourself and stuff like that. So I think it kind of helped facilitate connection with the divine, the
Mhm.
universe. And it taught me 100% believe that the universe speaks to you through your intuition. And I think that
Mhm.
there's some things where it's like, here's a suggestion, you can go this way. And then there are other things where it's like, we want you to do this. And for some reason, I think it wanted me to ski the Catskills because it just kept pestering me about it until I gave into it. Definitely learned how to follow my intuition through this process and just to surrender because I think that there are some people that they can make plans in life so long as they make all the right moves, they're going to get the result that they want, right? Or at least in some areas because we don't get everything we want. But there are some of us where and I feel this all throughout my life where I'm just like, "This doesn't even make sense. I have made every move to make this come to fruition. What's going on here?" And I think after my divorce, I kind of like you can call it surrender. Like, in the moment, I was like, "I just give up. I'm just not gonna fight this anymore. Like, what is it that you want from me?" I kind of gave up on, like, making these big grandiose plans with my life. And, that also helped me start following my intuition more. And now my life has turned into a direction that I was never ever on my radar as a possibility or anything like that. And it's so strange. The life that I'm living now, so different from what I imagined it would be,
Mhm.
so different from what I imagined I wanted.
It's really cool to think about the things that can happen in our lives that we never would have even known
Mhm.
would come to be, and that's exciting, I think,
It can be
and, like,
exciting and frightening.
scary. Yeah. I guess it's exciting when you're on the other side of it and you look back and
Yes.
you're content in where you are now. It's really scary when you're in a moment like that, though, when your whole world flips upside down.
Yes.
And having something to hold on to during those times is life-saving
Yeah.
for a lot of people. Like having a lifeline, basically. This is your anchor. It's something that you know feels right, and you can hold on to that while you're discovering this new self and life. Can you talk a little bit more about what it means to you to have a practice and a passion in your life?
I think everybody needs to find a passion in their life outside of work and family. And I think that it should either be something creative or some sort of skill.
Mm,
Creativity and physical exertion, those are things that move energy out, right? So I think that's one of the reasons why, like during my divorce, backcountry skiing became such an obsession for me is because I had all these intense emotions. And before COVID, I was just surviving, right? Yeah, I would do my backcountry skiing on the weekends, but it wasn't enough because I still had
mhm.
5 days during the week. And when you have those negative feelings like building up, that's when you tend to kind of cope with it in toxic ways to kind of numb it.
Yeah.
But then when COVID hit and I could ski and hike every single day, that's when I actually started healing. And that's when I was like, oh, okay, I understand now. So you need to constantly be moving the negative energy out. I think
Mhm.
being in nature also helps calm your nervous system and also things where you can make progress. So that helps you kind of regain some of your self esteem and it helps your ego kind of feel safe. And then
Mm,
your defense mechanisms start to come down. And that's when you can kind of absorb the wisdom that the universe is trying to show you.
mhm.
And I think that hobbies are not frivolous things. They are 100% essential for human growth. And I think that most people that go through some sort of crisis in their life and come out the other side feeling like they are a better person for it, it's usually because they found something, whether it be like
Mm,
going to the gym, it could even be something small like knitting or something, but something where you're seeing
mhm.
progress, you're getting better, you're like moving that
It's satisfying to reflect and see how far you've come. Like this challenge in the Catskills, it's nice because you're actually ticking boxes
Yeah.
and
Getting
you're
better,
y
like,
yeah.
starting to believe in yourself.
How does that relate to how you teach your students? You talk to them about this?
Not directly. During COVID, I was like, I want my students to experience this. I now understand the power of setting in
Mhm.
terms of how it impacts your psychology, how it impacts your emotions, how it impacts your spiritual development. And so I was like, universe, I want my students to have access to this. So one of my friends put it out there into the universe, and the universe responded. So through the Winter for Kids program, which is based in New Jersey, my students get ski and snowboard lessons every year. So it's 3 full days of ski and snowboard lessons, 1 day a week for 3 consecutive weeks. And it's something that we do every year. So if you start as a freshman, they get pretty good by the
Yeah.
time they're seniors. Even just in those 3 days, the students are making tremendous progress. Also, I take them to volunteer in the Catskills and do trail maintenance in the
Mm,
fall and the spring with the New York, New Jersey Trail Conference.
mm.
And I have Charlie Gadel, the Catskills supervisor, to thank for that. Because when I initially brought the idea up to the trail conference, I heard a lot of why it couldn't be done. And he was the lone voice who was like, yeah, I think that we could make that work. And we showed them that we could make that work. So, and it has the effect that I want it to have. It's
Mm.
I remember the first time I took my students, it was in May and it was Slide Mountain, and I was like, "Oh, man, I don't know if they're gonna like this." It's black fly season. People assume that because they're teenagers that walking uphill is easy, but it is not, like, that is a struggle for them, but they loved it. Even though
Oh.
they kind of complained about the exertion, they loved it. Everything on the trail was so precious to them. A caterpillar, they're
Mm.
like, "Oh my god, miss, look at this caterpillar. Oh, I'm gonna put it on the side of the trail so no one hurts it." Like, worms were exciting to them. They're like, "Miss, I wanna see a worm." I was like, "Okay.
Oh.
Alright." I remember one of my students saying, "Miss, being out in nature here, it's very like," and she kind of, like, made this hand gesture that showed me that she was trying to express that it calms your nervous system.
Mm.
And I was like, "Oh, this is exactly what I wanted." And then people would say hi on the trail to them and, like, thank them for their service, and, we don't say hi to each other in the South
In the
Bronx
city.
and in New York City in general. They're like, "Wow, miss, it's kind of like a community up here." I'm like, "Yes, exactly." So everything I wanted them to get out of it,
Light
they got
bulb.
out of it. And then with the skiing, that's helped me tremendously with my relationships with my students. One of the examples that I give is like I had this student and we had a conflict in class and he got like really upset because I was asking him to stay in his seat. And that he couldn't move his seat for the day. And to be fair, he had other things going on in his life, but this was the straw that broke the camel's back, and he blew up at me. But I noticed that he always carried a skateboard around with him. My higher self was like, Julie, you got to ask him to come join the ski and snowboard club. And I was like, all right, just give me a day. He just and so I was like, hey, I think you might enjoy this. And he actually came. Like there was like progress. After like that first time, he tolerated me.
Mm.
Then the next year, he was like engaging with me and stuff like that.
Mm.
And now he's graduated. He's volunteered this year at Winter for Kids. And
Mm.
I was also able to call on the Northeast ski community. They donated snowboards to him. I had people buy him new bindings, new, snowboard boots. They hooked him up with, like, hands, jackets, helmet, everything you could possibly need. And, like, there's something else he needs, I just put it out there, and they're like, "Yep." And then other people in the Northeast ski community, they're like, "Oh, that's so great. You know what? Now I wanna go and volunteer too. I wanna volunteer for the adaptive program, or I wanna do this." So, I love how there's this positive ripple effect from all this.
And ways that you might not even see now that years down the line,
Yep,
there'll be an impact, especially for kids that might not otherwise be able to come into the Catskills or outside of the city. That's a completely new
yep,
experience for them.
yep.
And during that time of your life, it's super impactful, those kinds of moments.
Yeah, and even if they don't like it, at least they have a better idea now of the kinds of things they do like and they don't like, right? So
Yeah.
no matter what, it's still giving them valuable information at the very least. Yeah, and also just to see like a whole different side to them and for them to see a whole different side to me. It's tough being in a classroom and having to manage teenagers, right? Because there's a strictness and stuff that you need in order to manage the behavior and make sure that it facilitates learning and mutual respect and things like that. But you don't want to be like that all the time, right? Like that's
Yeah.
your true self, but that's the only way that they see me. And unfortunately, we do have to kind of mute aspects of our personalities when we're at work or at school, like the joking around and stuff like that. But then when I take them out of the classroom, like, that part of them can shine, and you learn that they're, like, hilarious, you know? And then they're like, "Oh my god, miss, you're such a good skier." Just the fact that I don't fall as I move on skis is, like, incredible to them. There's maybe, like, some cool points that I get from my skiing as well. They actually start to sound like teachers to each other, right? Because they help each
Mhm.
other. They're good with that. I remember this girl saying to someone else, "Well, you ain't gonna learn if you don't fall," and, like, things like that. So, like, they start kind of like, I'm like, "Oh,
You're like, "That's
just like
poetic."
me." Yeah, exactly. So
Wow, it's really full circle. I wanna go back to what you were saying about following your intuition because I think that it's something we talk about and will throw out there, but some of us don't really know what that looks like. Can you explain a little bit more of the emotional or sensory experience of what actually listening to your intuition can feel like?
I don't think it's something that anyone really has 100% figured out, but I do my best. Like, sometimes I think I'm doing what the universe wants, but it doesn't come to fruition, so I'm like, "Alright, so maybe it wants me to do this in the future maybe or something, or maybe this just isn't the right time." But, I mean, I think we often get kind of inspiration at times to do
Mhm.
something, and it can be fleeting, right? And you usually have to kind of strike while you have that inspired feeling, and if you don't, it kinda goes away. So
Yeah.
I kind of try to pay more attention to those moments and act on them as they
Mhm.
occur. When it comes to intuition, I think people notice it the most when it's like kind of like warning them of something bad that's going to happen. I think most of us have had
Mhm.
that experience, but I think that fear and intuition, like, it's sometimes hard to discern. Like, there are many times when I'm going out there and, like, there's just something spooky. It's like it's dark, it's gloomy. I don't know, there's just something spooky about it. I'm like, is this my intuition telling me something bad's gonna happen? Or is this
Right.
normal fear and nerves?" And,
And
usually I'm
sometimes it's hard to tell with that. Is this something that I'm meant to push forward
yeah,
to grow from, doing this despite having some fear? Or is it, okay, maybe I shouldn't go in this direction and I
spells.
should, yeah.
That's
I
exactly what I
struggle
experience
with
all the
that.
time. Everyone does.
Yeah.
And, generally what I tell myself in those moments, I'm like, "Alright, well, why don't you just start?"
Mhm.
And if it keeps on persisting, even once you're out there and, and you're into it for a little bit, then you can always turn back.
Mhm.
So I think maybe an avalanche terrain, I'd be
Yeah.
a little bit more like, oh, I don't know. But in terms of where it's not avalanche terrain, I'm more likely to, all right, we'll just go give it a shot and see what happens. You can turn
Mhm.
around. But yeah, usually when it's not a feeling of foreboding, it's usually a feeling of some sort of inspiration, um,
Mhm.
that and I just kind of, like, follow that.
Yeah. I agree too that even when those moments are really strong, if you don't harness it, they can disappear. And it's kinda easy to get wrapped up in the things that you do every day, and you're like, "Oh, that's an exciting thought, but I have to go to work, and then I have to
Yeah,
do this thing after work," and you just kind of, like, let it go.
yeah. Think especially if it's something that keeps persisting, I think that's
Mhm.
usually the universe being like, "We really want you to do this."
Mhm.
Things that are, like, more fleeting or it's not as inspired a feeling, I think sometimes those are like, "This is a suggestion, you can do this," you know? So I think it's that's kind of how I navigate it,
Mhm.
myself.
I think it's helpful for people to hear how other people approach it because, the saying, "Oh, well, it's a gut feeling. It's a gut feeling." But I think it's more nuanced than and it can express itself in different ways.
Sometimes you don't realize the significance of a small thing, how it's gonna impact your future. I remember right before my, divorce, I was getting, like, a new pair of skis. It's like, Well, maybe I'll just get a touring setup on this new pair of skis just to give me options in case some point I wanna do it." And, like, my wife left, like, pretty soon after that, and I was like, "Well, I got these, so I guess I can use them, so at least, I'm kind of ready to go on this, ski." I didn't realize at
Yeah.
the moment how significant putting that touring setup was gonna be. It was just kind of like a moment of inspiration at the ski shop, and
Mhm.
then here we are.
It's nice in retrospect when you can reflect and see, "Oh, yeah, all of that added up to this thing I'm doing now."
Yeah.
What does it feel like to you, to work on building mastery in something?
I definitely, like, took steps forward in building mastery and comfort in the backcountry. I think in backcountry skiing that I've always had an imposter syndrome. Like, it's happened a lot of times, like, on, like, big ski trips, and, like, I'm the only woman or something, and, like, there's, like, a guide, and it's, like, a whole bunch of guys, and I'm like, "Oh, these people, like, they live in the big mountains. They do this all the time, I'm just, like, this city girl, like, what am I doing here? I don't belong here." And then sometimes there's someone that's just bragging, and I'm like, "Oh, man, I'm gonna die out here, like, I don't belong here." And then you go through the trip and you're like, "They're not that great." Or it's like, I'm good enough that I can hang with them, you know? But I always have that kind of feeling, but I think it's to some degree, my confidence has improved with that because whenever people ask questions about backcountry skiing, like let's say like ski the Northeast or something like that, and you look at the comments and the things that people are saying, and I'm like, this is such terrible, dangerous advice. These people have no idea what they're talking about. I feel like I have enough experience at this point that I know what makes sense with what someone's saying, and when I'm like, "This is
Mhm.
stupid, you don't know what you're talking about."
Mhm.
And I think I can usually tell, the extent to someone's ski mountaineering or backcountry skiing experience based on how much they expect backcountry skiing to look like resort skiing and to think that the rules of resort skiing are going to apply to the backcountry. So when you're in a resort, if you see someone snowplow or side slip, right? It's like, oh, that person is a crappy skier, right? But these are like very, very important tools that you are going to need to implement in the backcountry at some point. Experienced ski mountaineers know that. And those that don't have a lot of experience don't understand that. And that you also have to understand that just because someone skied something a certain way one day doesn't mean that when you go and do it that you have the conditions to ski it in the same way. And you might have to use more survival techniques than, let's say, someone else did. But it's like, okay, well, the danger of these conditions calls for that. And you cannot ski it the same way that someone else did when it was like all filled in and they just had a big snowstorm. So there are things like that where I'm like more confident. I definitely have like respectable skills like, in the backcountry. But I always like to hang out with people that are better skiers than I am because that's how you learn and like push yourself. So it's like, in my mind, I'm like, oh, I got so far to go. But I mean, I'm comparing myself to people that are like incredible.
Such a complex, set of emotions if you're in a group like that. And I think we kind of naturally wanna, like, place ourselves, like, "Okay, I need to kind of understand where I am in this group for whatever reason."
Yeah.
That's happened to me in groups with climbing or running where I'm
Mm,
just like, "Okay, where do I fit in here so I can understand how to get better or who to learn from?"
yeah, that and I'm sure that this is also with climbing. It's like, am I going to be a danger to these people? Am I like a weak enough link that this is going to cause them problems? Like that's
Definitely.
like one of like my big things. I don't have to be the best, but I don't want to be where
A burden.
like, yeah, where I'm a burden and I don't want to be where like, okay, I'm gonna really hurt myself and this is like beyond my my level. I found that like guys often overestimate their abilities and
Mhm.
women tend to underestimate them. I'd much rather
Yeah.
be on the underestimating side of things. I think that's safer and smarter. But there are a number of times where, like, I thought, oh, guys brag and they're usually not as good as they're bragging. I thought that was BS until it happened a number of times where you hear someone, they're just bragging and bragging like the whole tour. And I'm like, oh my God, like, we're supposed to be like so good. Or like, and then you see them skiing, you're like, "Oh my god, this is dangerous for you." Like, I'm concerned about your safety, you know? That happened on the Haute route. The Haute route is, it's like this world-renowned ski tour. Like, it is you start off in Chamonix in France, and you're basically backpacking on skis to
Mm.
Zermatt in Switzerland. You're, like, skiing through the mountains, and you're staying at peaks at, like, 10,000 feet. And, like, it's this awesome Odyssean
Wow.
adventure. That reminds me of Catskill skiing because you're going to run into all kinds of conditions there. Like,
Mhm.
it could be icy, it could be like avalanche danger. The wind is too bad. We have to descend down to this road and we're going through tunnels through the mountains. We're navigating avalanche debris. We're like skinning on grass.
Whoa.
One time we took a bus, like, it's just like this crazy adventure. So, but there is this guy on the tour and I kept talking about climbing Denali and I was like, "Oh my god, I don't belong here." And I saw him ski and I was like very concerned for him. He ended up dropping out. He
You
ended
don't
up
need to be
dropping.
a good skier to climb Denali.
No, you don't, but I just assumed that if he had the climbing skills that he also had the ski skills, and he
Yeah.
didn't. Like, the up is his shtick, but, like, the down was not, and he said it was his knee, but I don't know if it was his knee. Like, because we skied something that was, like, crazy steep. And neither one
Mm.
of us wanted to do it. The guy was like, "Oh, let's go ski this." We did not have to ski this, okay? We were, like, in the resort. We stopped in, Verbier, and we're, like, there, and we did not have to ski this. This was totally optional, and then he tricked us into going into this thing, and it's like, we both make it down a lot.
Scary.
Yeah, this was to this day, the steepest thing I've ever skied, and he dropped out that night.
Having the background in New York and the Catskills helps you there. You're used to the icy conditions and
I
not
was
just all the fluffy powder that you
like,
get on these nice West Coast
exactly.
resorts.
I can't tell you how many times I've been on some big ski trip, and all of a sudden things get just slightly East Coasty, and I'm like, "Oh,
I know
I
this.
can do this." Talk about a feeling of inspiration. Suddenly, I literally feel like this inspiration rise within me, and I'm like, "You've skied Hunter, you can do this." And then all these people that are like live in the big mountains, it's really
Mhm.
snowy, you see skiing out, and I'm like, "All right, okay."
Yeah, it gives you a good perspective because I think a lot of people just assume that if you ski on these quote unquote smaller mountains in the East Coast, you don't have the skills, but you have a very different set of skills
Yeah.
that is advantageous in a lot of scenarios.
Exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be 10,000 feet for you to die, you know?
Yeah. Even hiking in the Catskills in the shoulder seasons,
Mm,
especially, I've had moments that have scared me with the conditions, even in the spring, especially when we have some really nice days down at the bottom of the mountains and it's warm and it's
mhm.
sunny and there's no snow left. But then you go up the
Yep.
north side of Blackhead and you're like, "Oh, okay."
That's so funny that you say that. I was thinking about my own experience, that same exact experience on Blackhead. Yeah.
Blackhead is scary to me and when it's icy. It's so steep there.
Yeah, yeah, and Black
And
Dome
you
too.
skied down it?
Yeah, yeah. You know what? Black Dome from the Lockwood Gap side, so where there's the coal between the 2. Black Dome, I attempted to ski from that side, and I was like I couldn't pull myself up onto it was so icy, I couldn't. You
Uh,
know, that to me is, like, super scary. I ended up doing it from the, Burnham Road side where Thomas
mm,
Cole is, and, that was much more scary, but yeah. Blackhead and Black Dome on that side. I remember having a scary hiking experience where, like, it was, like, really icy on the ledges, and it's exactly what you described, and I remember holding on for dear life trying to put my micro spikes on this ledge and
yeah.
hoping I didn't fall off.
I know it's even crampons that you
Yeah.
need in some of these. So, can you explain your setup a little bit?
Yes. I always carry boot crampons, like real glacier crampons, not for, like, hiking boots, but for, like, climbing.
Yeah.
So I carry those with me all the time. I think those are more important than ski crampons because you can always just take off your skis.
Mhm.
And then also with ski crampons, once you start to use your heel risers, they work by you having to apply pressure stepping down onto them. So once you
Yeah.
apply your heel riser, you're no longer really putting pressure onto it. And so it's like not as effective. I always wear my helmet. I have everything in my pack that I would need to like spend the night, start a fire, survive.
Mhm.
One of my friends, he was like moving my pack last weekend. He's like, Julie, this isn't really how heavy your pack is normally. And I'm like, yeah. Actually, usually it's easier because I have a couple beers in there. Like, "Are you serious?" I'm like, "Yeah, yeah, this is my normal pack." And I without fail, even when I'm just resort touring, because I wanna just practice always having that heavy pack on. And they're, like, incredulous because,
It adds up.
yeah, it does. Even though you try to buy the lightest of like everything, it adds up. And I'm just one of those people that if I have a moment that's a little bit scary and I'm like, "Oh, I'm really grateful I carry 3 pairs of gloves," or whatever, like, I try to always be prepared. Like, I learn from any scary or sketchy moment that I have and try to prepare for that in some way, which just makes my pack
Mhm.
heavier and heavier.
Okay, important question, where are the beers from?
They're from a lot of different places. I love,
Westkill?
I you know what? I haven't been drinking as much Westkill lately. I really love hazy IPAs.
Mm,
Let's see, I've been drinking Industrial Arts a lot lately. I went through a strong Devil's Path from Catskill Brewery phase. I was just in Vermont, so I picked up Sip of Sunshine and Focal Banger from The Alchemist.
nice.
And I had a screening at Soul Track Brewing in Vermont. For the day, they had a special Queen of the Catskills, Hazy
Oh,
Pale, and I've got 4 growlers of that right now that I'm
nice.
drinking. Yeah, that was, like, the coolest thing ever. I'm like, "Oh, I've made it in life."
I mean, what else do you need to strive for at this point?
Nothing. That's it. There's nowhere to go but down.
Thank you for sharing your film with me. I really enjoyed watching it, Queen of the Catskills. Can you, for the audience, explain a little bit about the film and how it came to be
Yeah,
and like what it's been like showing it and touring the film around?
Jamie Kennard and his brother Doug were the first 2 to ski the Catskills High Peaks, and the way Jamie explains it, so we were kind of like, social media acquaintances, right? In like 2021. He says that he kind of like got wind that someone was skiing the Catskills High Peaks. And I didn't announce the project that I was like going for it. I was just like, I skied this today, because I didn't think I would actually finish. But he was like, oh, I heard someone was going to try and ski the Catskills High Peaks. And he says that he knows how hard that is. So his wife died of cancer. And after that, he kind of, like, got into these short films, like, I remember he had released 2. One was called The Ski Tech, and one was The Ciderist, and these were just, like, 5 minutes or something, probably in, like, an afternoon or something. And I remember the first one, it was picked up by unofficial networks and everything, like, I mean, it was
Oh, wow.
yeah, like, right out of the gate, you know? Um, he's never really, like, made a film before, I is how he says it, but I'd seen those 2 short films. And he didn't start filming me in 2021, I think it was maybe, like, 2022 at some point, and I remember we had this late season storm in April, and Bel Air had shut down for the season, but they opened back up the lifts just for that storm, which I thought was totally cool. And I just broken up with someone, and I was, like, so depressed, like, I was like, "Ah, I don't even know if I wanna ski tomorrow." But then the universe always wants me to ski apparently. So, Jamie reached out to me, and he's like, "Are you gonna ski tomorrow?" And, like, that kind of pushed me to go skiing. I was like, "Yeah, why" So, he and I ended up skiing together, and then on the lift, he turned to me, he goes, "You do you mind if I make a documentary on you skiing the 35s?" And I'm like, "Sure." And that's how it started. So he joined me on, I think, 4 tours, and they were the last ones that I did. And then he would take resort footage, he took hiking footage, interviews.
Mhm.
So that was an interesting process. And then the film tour itself has been incredible. It was funny. My dad died a couple years ago, and like a lot of mixed emotions because we did not have a good relationship at all. But he kind of came around at the end. I was just so depressed. It really turned my world upside down and brought up all these feelings and stuff. And I was finding it hard to even find my purpose, to even finish the project. I was like, who cares
Mm.
about this? This voice inside my head would just say, just finish the project. Just finish this project. Like, all right, finish this project. And so I finished it. And I was like, all right, well, now what? Just like, just wait. And I think that's like, all right, wait for this film tour because it's been like, more successful than I could have possibly imagined. We got picked up by the Girl Winter Film Tour. So just with that
Mm.
tour alone was over 30 cities.
Wow.
Then we've been in like a number of film festivals. I think one of my proudest moments is that we won Best Short Film in the Women of the Mountains Film Fest in France. France is like, they are serious about their skiing. And the Women of
Mhm.
the Mountain, I checked out their Instagram and all these very well-known IFMGA guides, like they
Mm.
follow this and they attend this. So these are people that know ski mountaineering. And the fact that they chose an American film with all those European films and like the Catskill Mountains, right?
Yeah.
Something in the Alps or, like, somewhere else, the Catskill Mountains, and
Mhm.
also they saw my skiing as, like, alright, there's some legitimacy there for me, the fact that I won or we won, I'll never forget that. The world is kind of looking at America like, like,
Yeah.
right now,
Not so sure
I'm not
about
so
you.
sure about you guys, and then I was like, "Wow, that's incredible."
And not only is that amazing for you and validating of what you've done, but also as someone born and raised here, for me, it makes me proud. Getting love in the Catskills, we don't get a lot of that. And like you said,
Yes.
there are so many bigger peaks, but people don't really recognize the spiritual connection a lot of us have to these mountains and how magical they really are.
Yeah, and I love
Yeah.
that. I think I've been in, like, 50 cities. I love that we've exposed the world to the Catskill Mountains, and they love it, and they respect it, and they're seeing what
Mhm.
we see in it, and I'm so
Mhm.
proud that
You
I've
should
been
be.
able to represent the Catskills in that way, and also just the Northeast also in that way.
Yeah.
'Cause, like, there's always, like, competition, like, with Northeast skiers, like, like, "Oh, Vermont's the best, New Hampshire's" things like that, and it's so stupid because outside of the Northeast, everyone thinks all our mountains are the same. So we
Mhm.
should really stop with the infighting and, like, the Northeast mountains have gotten respect, but particularly the Catskills. I like that. I'm ecstatic about that. I'm like, "All right, universe, you're right. I held out. It was worth it." And just the people that I've met has been incredible. Up until COVID hit, I've always been a loner. I just didn't fit in. I just could never find a group that I fit into. And it's not an exaggeration. Like maybe I would have like one friend, one close friend at a time. And usually my weekends I would just spend alone or alone in the mountains. And, during that kind of magical time of spending the year and a half in the Catskills, I developed a community. I've met so
Mm.
many amazing people that I really gel with and have instant friendship chemistry with. There's so many people that have shared their meaningful experiences with me because of the film.
Mm.
I'm so grateful. I really am.
You're a magnet now to, people that are like-minded, which is really cool.
Yeah.
I can imagine how completing a project like that on your own without having anything documentary associated with it is its own very deeply satisfying spiritual personal experience. But then to be able to have it captured like that and you can reflect back on it and then see people's reactions to it adds a whole other dimension.
Yeah. It's really just like me trying to climb up these peaks, like the whole film, just kind of numerous attempts to get up a ledge or something like. And it's just like everything about Catskill skiing, it's like clawing your way to the top and you have to claw your way to the bottom. And I just didn't think that anyone would get it or appreciate it. And especially with the Girl Winter Film Tour, these are movies with professional skiers doing backies off cliffs and stuff like that. And I'm like, these people out west aren't going to like appreciate
But everyone's
it.
seen that. I mean, it's very impressive, but how many ski films are there about that?
Yeah, that's true. I mean, at least with the Girl Winter ones that there were narratives to them, and it wasn't
Mhm.
just ski porn, but I was like, "Oh, these are like real skiers. Like, what am I doing here?" It's again that imposter syndrome. Jamie was able to go to a lot of the stops of West and stuff. He said, "There's a scene with me in the trees." He says every single time that scene would pop up out west, that the audience had an audible reaction to it. So I was like,
The one, yeah, you're fully
yeah,
grabbing onto the tree branches.
yeah.
Like you were saying, I know you experienced this yourself, the imposter syndrome feeling. Skiing and mountain sports can feel intimidating for people,
Mhm.
especially beginners. So, what is a piece of advice that you would give anyone curious, interested, inspired, but feels scared or intimidated or nervous?
I actually made a resource for this because I am a teacher.
Perfect.
In my links, it says backcountry ski resource. So I always
Nice.
recommend that you not invest in the skis and stuff first, right? See if you actually like going uphill. So I usually recommend
Mhm.
that you can get snowshoes, put your skis on your pack, climb. I would start with climbing up a resort that has an uphill policy.
Mhm.
See if you like that. You still wanna do it? Okay. Then also, if like, you're like, "Okay, I don't wanna just resort tour, I wanna go into, like, the backcountry." The American Institute of Avalanche Research and Education offers 2, recreational courses. So in your Area 1, they will teach you not just snow safety and avalanche safety, but they teach you how to plan a backcountry excursion. So they'll teach you how to use
Mm,
CalTopo and all that
cool.
information. East Coast Avalanche Education sponsors it. They're usually in the Mount Washington area. And if you put in AIARE level 1 course, it'll give you a list of dates, where they're offered, what guiding services offer them, and you can just choose from there. So I definitely recommend that. I recommend that before you ski anything, if you can, I would like it and do recon in the off season first. In
Mm,
terms of like, all right, I'm confident touring on the resort. I'm going to start to dabble in the backcountry in the Catskills. Fire towers are often good places to start because those roads are
mhm.
wider because, like they needed like vehicles and stuff to go up there. So Overlook is a good, easy one.
Yeah.
Balsam Lake Mountain is another good one. Thing is, like, Balsam Lake Mountain has, like, some longish flat sections, so you might be kinda, like, shussing for a little while,
Mm,
but that's a good one. I mean, Hunter, I would say, is a little bit more advanced. It's not that technical, but it's maybe a little bit longer than the others and a little bit steeper.
mhm.
Bear Pen is a good one because the snowmobile club actually grooms the trail, so
Mhm.
it's kind of like having a, groomed green or blue run.
Some friends from my run club do that almost every week
Is it the
in a group.
Northern Athletics? I
Yeah.
ran into them once.
Nice.
I felt so bad. Here's a lesson how something easy can turn into something crazy. So bear pen, I like literally used to do that every day during COVID. Very straightforward. Like I would consider that easy at this point, right? So at the summit, there's one of the old ski trails that a lot of people ski down, and then it joins the intersects the snowmobile trail. So I was going down that. I made a turn, and my ski came off, right, and I fell face first. Feel like I couldn't push my head up. I was kind of like inhaling snow and stuff. I guess it's almost like getting stuck in a tree well. They talk about how trees are so dangerous. I was like, "Oh my god." I'm like, "This is like dangerous." So I get myself up. I was like, "Oh, okay." But I lost my poles. I'm like, "Damn." Like, where are my pole? And I was like tearing that like shit up. I was like, where is my pole? These poor people show up to like see this lovely snow. And I literally am like digging grass. I felt so bad for them. I was like, "I'm so sorry." I would have been pissed if I if I were them. So, my apologies to them.
I'm
I did not
sure
find my
that
poles either. Like, they're still
oh, no.
there in, like, the abyss somewhere. I guess I'll find them in, like, May or something.
I'm sure they would actually be thrilled to know that they ran into you. So you have resources for this. Where can people find you and your resources?
Sure. So, on Instagram, it's Queen of the Catskills NY. And if you go into my link tree and you scroll down, it says a country skiing resource. And it has everything from like how to get started without equipment, what kind of trails to look for, things I carry in my pack, all those kinds of questions that people tend to ask.
And how can people watch your film?
So there's a website for it, and lists the upcoming dates and all the past dates. So right now we have screenings coming up in Mammoth, Plymouth, New Hampshire, Minnesota, and Pennsylvania. I'm also working on screenings in Killington and possibly at Hunter Mountain.
Cool.
But we're constantly adding dates, so it's worth just constantly checking
Yes,
back.
checking.
Yeah,
Yeah, please keep me posted if you do a screening at Hunter.
absolutely.
I know a lot of locals that would love to go to
Awesome.
that. Okay, so I'm gonna do some rapid fire Catskills questions.
Okay.
Favorite place to get a coffee or a tea?
Mm. Honestly, my kitchen, I don't go out for that here. I just make it at home, and that's it.
Okay, favorite place to get a beer?
Okay, that's better. In terms of, food and beer, 2 places that I go to for both are Last Chance, Tannersville, and
Mm,
I like Chappie's in Roxbury. I spent, a lot of post tours going there for my beer and stuff. Where else do I go? I have been to Westkill, but sometimes it's a little crowded, so I try not to go when
mhm,
it's crowded. I also go to, Woodstock Brewing, a
mhm.
lot post tour, and
Very
unfortunately,
satisfying
Catskill
after.
Brewing is, a little far from me, so I don't go there.
Yeah,
It's like Livingston Manor. It's like for me, it's like
I've never
the
been.
regions of the Catskills, you know?
I've still never been to Livingston Manor. I need to get out there
And
sometime.
I totally get why, right? Because,
It's kind of far.
yeah, it doesn't even have to be that far. There's just no pass through the mountain ranges, right?
Yeah.
So it's just like
It's like,
yeah, on the other side of Balsam Lake Mountain just becomes whole other world because you have to, go
yeah.
all the way around these ranges. This is, what I'm learning as I'm doing, the highest 100 and, hiking all trails is kind of
Mhm.
more about the geography of the Catskills, so
Mhm. One of your favorite high peaks to do in the summer?
In the summer, Hunter, via Spruceton, always has a special place in my heart. I don't know what it is. I
Mm.
love skiing it, and I love hiking it. There's just something about that trail.
The view from the fire tower is also so nice.
Yeah, it is, and you have, this beautiful fire tower. I usually go, really late, the sun is setting, it's, getting dark, so I have it to myself. That's usually my favorite time to go. Um,
Mm.
I don't know, there's just something about that trail. I don't know, I love it.
Also, hot tip is in the summer, there are whoever is the steward of the cabin there,
Mm.
there's these 2 men that are lifelong buddies, and I've met them multiple times at the fire tower, and they give brownies out to
They
people hiking, and it's very cute, and they're friends, they live in different locations, and every year they steward the cabin
Oh, that's so
together
cool.
for a bit. I know, it's very cute, and I've eaten their brownies multiple times.
Nice, okay.
Uh, Favorite high peak to ski in the winter this year?
Bear Pen's always a go-to just because it's close and it's fast, and I have my little special spot where I like to see, the sunset and talk to the
Mm.
universe and stuff.
Okay, last one is, do you have a favorite Stewart's ice cream, and if so, what is it?
Oh, I don't. I don't, but that's, a good question. I need to, hang out in Stewart's more because when I do these podcasts, someone always asks me something about Stewart's.
Wait, really?
I'm
That
not
is
kidding.
so
Someone
funny.
asked me about corn dogs in Stewart's, and, I was like, "Okay." So I really need to hang out in Stewart's more.
Wow, I don't know about the corn dogs.
Someone was like yeah, they asked me, what my favorite it was really random. They asked me what my favorite corn dog was, and they said that Stewart's had, corn dogs. I was like, "Okay."
That is really
That one threw
funny.
me off. I didn't expect that.
Wow, you learn something new every day.
Yeah, you do.
I mean, I don't even know if I could tell you my favorite Stewart's ice cream, but I just generally do enjoy it in the summer.
You know what it is? I always end up going to, Gray Hill because no matter where I'm coming from, that's on the way home from me.
That is the best gas
Oh my
station
god. I
ever.
just I wish it wasn't so expensive in there because, like, but I just
They have, like, gourmet
oh my
cheese.
god, it is. I just end up like, I'm like, "Alright, I'm just gonna stop and, like, grab dinner there." I'm pretty much up here the entire week for my winter break, and I'm probably gonna be at Hickory Hill every single day. I got my wrap waiting for me when this is over, like, it's just I'm there every day because it's right
I
on
love
my way
it.
home. I have to stop by it.
They have fresh flowers, it's just the best.
It is, it is. It's expensive, it's the best. They do, they have the most beautiful bouquet, and this woman was like and you could tell this woman probably had money. She's just like, "These flowers are beautiful. I'm just gonna ignore the ungodly amount of money I just spent on them," and she just walked away. But I'm like, "Yeah, well, they know. They got
My
good stuff. They got pizza, they got, like, hot food, they got, like, pre-made stuff. If you wanna make a charcuterie board, you go there because they got
Mhm.
everything." They got a beer fridge, like a it's like they got everything. Yep.
This is not an ad.
It's not. It's not. It's not. I mean, I'm telling you, it's
It
expensive.
could
Just
be.
be
It
be
could
prepared when you go in there.
My grandmother used to live in Oneonta, and the way we would get there is going up through Wyndham, and I would always stop at Hickory Hill and get her flowers and snacks.
There you go. And they got ice cream there too.
Yep, they got it all. Well, it was so nice to meet you, Julie. We're
Likewise.
kind of neighbors. I
Yeah,
hope that
we
we
need to hang out if you're this
I
close.
know. We
I'm
should
down.
go into the mountains.
Hell yeah, absolutely. And you can show me a place to get coffee because apparently I don't know that.
Yes. We have a favorite place near us called Red Star. Our friends own it, and they have great coffee and tea and pastries that
Okay,
they
there,
make
you
that
got me at
are
pastries because I
delicious.
gotta so I'm gonna check that out.
Where we live, actually, you can access Stopple Mountain
Yeah.
from our woods. So,
Oh,
yeah, Stopple, North Point, and
okay.
sometimes I go up Stork's Nest, but we can actually cut over to Stork's Nest trails from our woods, which is nice.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
During COVID when they had the, because remember for, like, a while, like, you weren't allowed to, like, hike the high peaks
Mhm.
initially, and you were only allowed to really go, I don't know, they said, like, minutes or something from your house. So, like, I would just
Oh, I don't even remember that part. I
constantly
must have blacked
find
it out.
that area. Like, if you looked at the sign-in book, it's pages of Julie McGuire, because I literally did that every day, and
Mhm.
it also just kind of helped me, like, get my confidence before I started hiking the high peaks. Because I was like, "Alright, well, I can hike these, I'm following the rules if I do this, let me just do
That
this."
trail is interesting because it's not very well maintained,
No.
and there's some sketchy areas on that trail.
Yeah, it's like you're following, like
Yeah.
they call it, like, a primitive bike path, but it's like an old, like, riverbed or something. It's like yeah,
Thinking of intuition, I have often a spooky feeling on that trail, and I don't know why.
interesting.
So, I kinda pick and choose when I go up it. I haven't been up in probably 2 or 3 months. I should really do that.
Which would you climb? Would you climb Stopple, Land, Arizona?
Yeah, or Arizona, or sometimes we would go to Colgate Lake
Oh, yeah, yeah, that's
because you
another one I
can
used to love to do. That woods
Mhm.
walk?
Yeah,
It's a great zone, you have access to a lot there,
there's a lot.
and a lot of times
Yeah.
I'll just do Blackhead from there because I don't wanna deal with the crowds over there,
Yeah, the other way. Yeah. I know, there's so much.
and those hike and ski like high peaks. They're not technically high
Mhm.
peaks, but they definitely have all the trademarks
The
of what I need to
qualities.
do. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Skiing
Oh, well,
still
this
is a
is
pain in
so
the ass.
Stopple is like, yeah, kind of a bitch,
It
actually, like,
was. It was
from
a bitch to climb up on the skis, it was a bitch to ski down, it was sketchy.
I'm amazed by you. When I hike the high peaks, we don't really have switchbacks like
No.
Western trails. It
No.
is straight up and
Yeah.
straight down.
Yes. Exactly. I would love a switchback. That would make my life so much easier. So that was, like, another thing I would sometimes have to do because snowshoes can go up steeper gradients than I can on my skis. But I got really good at switchbacking, making my own skin tracks and kick turns and stuff like that. I got so good at that because
Yeah,
I had no choice.
you have to. So many adventure. You'll have to come over sometime and we'll go up the back.
Yeah, let's do that. That would be fun.
I love this conversation so much. What really struck me from talking to Julie is something she said about hobbies not being frivolous. They're essential. And I think that's something we all kind of know. But hearing her story around her divorce, COVID, the mountains, making the film, and her students, it really does drive it home. A passion, a practice, a place where you can make progress and move energy through you. I think we all know that that can be life saving. And I love that the Catskills are the center of this story. We don't always get the recognition that places like the Rockies or the Alps do, but there's something very real and wild about these mountains. And people that have been here know. The fact that Queen of the Catskills won Best Short Film at a film fest in France, Our Little Mountains, I'm very proud of that. If you want to follow Julie and check out her backcountry skiing resources, she's on Instagram at Queen of the Catskills NY, and her film is still touring. Links are in the show notes. Thanks so much for listening. I'll see you next episode. And if you haven't already, subscribe, leave a review. It means the world and helps other people find us. Thanks, and see you out there.